Welcome to TAMA Talks, brought to you by the Torrance Art Museum Advocates. I'm Janine Madden, current TAMA president, and I'd like to thank you for watching. Today, we will be discussing work which is currently on view in the main gallery at the Torrance Art Museum in a show called Risky Business, a painter's forum curated by Marie Thibeault and Max Presneill. The focus of the show seeks to address how the concerns and expectations of AI begin to dominate the narrative in our increasingly technologically dependent society, and how some artists reply with the personal mark, risk-taking, chance, the unknown endpoint, the illogical, and the mystery to produce a reflection of a living, very human experience. The exhibition is on view through May 4th, and the museum is located at 3320 Civic Center Drive in Torrance, California. It is open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Admission is always free, and donations are gratefully accepted. This discussion is being recorded and will be posted to our YouTube channel with all of our previous TAMA Talks. You can access it from our website, www.tamadvocates.com. We are joined today by artist John Goetz from his studio in Santa Monica, California. John is a Swiss-Canadian sculpture painter born in Switzerland who gained U.S. residency in 2000. Do you live in New York City?
I did it some period of time. I'm now based in California, Santa Monica. And also, I swore allegiance last year in April. So I am now officially a U.S. citizen.
Fantastic. That's extraordinary. Yeah. How wonderful is that? Your bio, go ahead.
I need to vote.
You do. Your bio goes on to say that you've exhibited extensively both nationally and internationally, and that your work has been acquired by numerous corporate and private collectors. And so we are absolutely thrilled to have you here today. I watched read your interview on Shout Out LA, which was fantastic. I'll put a link up to that on our Facebook post, because it was wonderful background about you and about your work. So we're super thrilled for you to be here with us today.
Thank you. It's very kind.
So we're going to go ahead and take a look at, there you are. Was this from the opening reception?
That was captured at the opening, yes.
Okay. These pieces in this show, I noticed, are all extraordinarily large scale.
Yes.
So it's always nice, to be honest, to have a photograph where either the artist or a visitor to the museum is standing nearby, because sometimes you really can't tell, and it's really great to have a picture with you in it, and also everyone can see your dashing hat.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about the piece, the title. Tell us what you'd like about it. I have some other images of this piece, and then you've also supplied some images of other work that you've done, which we'll get to talking about as well.
Yes. First of all, I sent the invite and then asked to get involved with this, would I consider it, through Max Presneill. And of course, I was flattered at the invitation, particularly when I saw the lineup of artists there. My contemporaries, some of them I consider my peers. And it was just wonderful just to surrender to the curation of both Marie's and Max's selects. He asked to send in 3. This one wouldn't have been my probably first select, but ergo listening to your curators and stuff, because it worked out marvelously. As far as conjunction with everything else, color scale within the entire body of work in that exhibit, I thought it was just perfect. It acted as sort of a little bit of a keystone between 2 other works. And I was very happy with the ability of the imagery itself to deliver some kind of notion on the idea of what artificial intelligence might entail or take away to for
Yeah.
us as we move forward.
The little bit of a explanation there at the beginning was a bit, it's not that it's confusing, but it was kind of all over the place. I think when I was reading it, I didn't quite get the gist of the show. So could you tell us a little bit about how, as an artist, you did you create this in response to the show, or is your work a response to AI in general?
Yeah, the work is a response to my daily involvement with um, cosmopolitan lifestyle versus nature. I like the asphalt. I like the notion of building and community and stuff, but I also go to nature a lot to be informed. Color, shape, senses, all that. I used to run extensively. It was there that anything that I was able to translate as far as what was inside me um, was I could do through the canvas. The canvas was my conduit. I also keep daily diaries or logs, jotting down, you know, impressions of the day. It helped forever. It's helped me just slow the world a little bit
Mhm,
and
mhm.
be able to express myself, find out who I am.
Which I guess when you think about it is the element of AI that's inconceivable, right? I mean, that part of artificial intelligence is never going to be able to be translated as accurately as you just described it.
I think Marie pointed that out in the opening talks about AI not being able to initiate the cognitive thoughts or impressions, which I
Right.
thought was very important, and also empathy. Simple things that we humans have. I I'm I'm very excited about the possibilities of AI and what it can offer us, and but hope that we never lose the sense of personalities. I think that's what the show is all about, is the individual personalities that translate off these paintings.
Absolutely. That mark making that's reflective of the
Yeah,
artists themselves. So this is in gallery 1, and this is from the opening. So you can see, as you mentioned, that really is kind of Max's forte, that idea of selecting a piece and then juxtaposing it with what's around it.
yes,
Also, what's 4 works down below. I think there's a cohesiveness that exists, even though everything is uniquely separate in its own way.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I'm not just speaking for myself and stuff, but as we went to the gallery this Saturday on a rainy day, and were able to actually experience it without viewers in there for a period of time. And again, the continuity was wonderful. I felt personally, I felt it was wonderful.
Yes.
Again, you take these engagements on as sort of a challenge, to be able to hold a space where, in this particular case, I didn't. I felt that I was really sort of involved with the entire concept of what was intended to be presented with the other works. Very difficult to do. I mean, to get, I feel, a dozen or so different individualities in there and find a sort of even tone. So
Yes.
I was very happy.
Yeah, and I will say that that is one thing, not only, that's also a passion that Max has spoken to us about on numerous occasions, is that idea that, getting groups of people together, not just on the similarities or the discordance between their work, but just to get them together to collaborate, I think is a passion of his.
Absolutely. absolutely. I felt no challenge on ego or any
Yeah.
of that. He's, he has the ability to bring it down to its most common denominator when it comes to visualists. And, it's wonderful. Yeah, it was good.
So here you are, and this is a nice piece because there's a bit of a close up, and again, I've said this before. One of the main reasons why we are choosing to continue to showcase the artists in the shows is that oftentimes two things happen. One is people can't get to the exhibit, so they rely on external, whether it's social media posts or on the TAM website, where some of the work has been um, the image of the work has been posted, but also when you get there and you've either seen it, so now you get to watch this and get a little bit of insight into the inspiration, or you are planning to go see it. And then by watching something like this, you gain a greater degree of understanding, which what we're finding is with this kind of work, this abstract painterly work is really hard. People will look at it and they don't necessarily get it, but
Right.
trying to explain that there's really no get it.
You
Just go look. And so while the images don't do it justice as far as seeing it in person, they certainly can lend to a little bit of an explanation about it. So this particular piece, did you create it specifically for the show? You said that you had 3 images.
Yeah, I had 3 submissions, and to be frank with you, on one, they're all fairly large scale, and that I mean 6 by 8, something like that. So they're fairly large, and the museum offers that kind of space. The challenge was, of course, to accommodate, I would imagine, the other participants. So it worked out. Going to the gallery and doing the count, the scale worked out. Although sometimes a smaller piece resonates far more than a larger piece, depending on the circumstances. But again, it was Max and Marie's curation and selects that allowed me to get out of my way, which is usually the best thing for me to do at a certain point, and to allow it to, take a life onto its own. And these paintings are rarely completed here in the studio until they are out and committed to one way or another and stuff. That's when they seem to find their complete resolve, and yeah, that was the case with this one again. This particular painting is a series of 3. 2 of the others will be going up to Calgary, I believe, pending selects on May 11th. So it's nice to see how those 2 correspond with each other. And yeah.
For how of your other work, you did send some images. You are zooming from your studio today, and so the images that you sent, I'm assuming, are these from within the studio space?
Yes, these are in the studio space right now. Well, actually, the ones that I'm looking at, Jana, some of them are commissions, so you won't be seeing them.
Okay.
I generally have a non-disclosure clause with those with regards to where they go. It's just the situation. But the ones on the right are in development, and there are several more. I could give you a tour through that are up right now that are in current.
And we have a few images. Let me kind of cycle through.
Yes.
So
there you go.
Yes. Go ahead.
Those three will be going up to Paul Clune Gallery. We're doing selects. We're short. It's a solo exhibit, so I've offered him some selects. So I'll be in contact with him in the middle of this month, which is just about now, to find out just exactly we might be most conducive for. We think about markets, scale, and things like that. But these things are fairly. These are what he generally likes, the scale he likes to adhere to. and the response seems to be good. So these three will be going up. Diptych, that I believe is in the slide presentation as well, will be going up. And yeah, that's a different perspective of those last three. And
Just trying to see what else we have.
okay.
Okay.
You've got all.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah,
Oh,
those are all have all gone through have gone through various states of resolve. So, but that the three there are a good example of what you'll be able to witness. Yes, those. Yes.
okay.
And we are here in our studio and stuff.
And so from the time that you started to begin to paint, is this sort of an evolution, or have you always painted in this way?
Uh, I never considered myself a painter until a few decades ago. My studies were principally in printmaking, lithography, etching. And I studied that under Frederick Hagen at a college, at a school called the Ontario College of Art in Toronto, for 3 to 4 years. And then began painting. I mean, I painted when I was very young. I mean, when I was a child, I remember painting in public schools and exhibiting in hallways, but they were landscapes and copies of some of the masters. But in college, I actually decided that printmaking might be my forte. I loved the process. I loved just the sensuality about the lithostone and intaglio and all the finite you could get with line and shape and form, and the magic as you lift the paper up to see what was revealed through the transition of medium. When I got out of college, I'm sorry.
Nope, go ahead. That's fine, please.
When I got out of college, I traveled, and access to print machines, printing presses became less available. I traveled fairly extensively through Europe after college, and then returned to North America, trying to figure out how to survive this livelihood that I've chosen. With due warning, that it would be difficult. So I engaged in industries that would, as I did during college, that would subsidize the efforts with a fairly quick return, i.e., seasonal work in commercial fishing that would pay a lot of money in a short period of time.
Okay.
Yeah, the experience there is that on some of these endeavors, I was a West Coast fisherman for a period of time, for a dozen plus years. And I had started that during art college, where I would go out there for the summer. We would harvest the salmon returns on the West Coast. And I found that within a short period of time, 10 to 12 weeks, I would be making more income than my professors were and stuff at college.
Sure, sure. Yes.
I would take that, and I know it sounds a little egotistic, but it would relieve me of the struggles that most artists experienced at that time. And I carried that on in my life. Even to this day, I rarely have depended on the galleries to support the work, because I understand the challenges there with brick and mortar, and relied on myself to either represent the work directly to clients, and particularly now with the advent of the internet, and or part of that through outside sources. I maintain a production company for commercial work and stuff that supplies a motorized unit, i.e., a motorhome that they can do post-production work in, or that sort of thing.
Okay.
And I started that in New York prior to moving to LA, and that is freelance, and allows me to choose when I do work and when I do not work.
That's ideal. That's
Yeah,
ideal.
it was. The caveat so cool that you need to, with the notion of freelance, you need to generally take most everything that you can get, because you never know when it stops. But
right.
As of late, the work has taken on momentum, and I need to stay in the studio. So it's it serves its purpose.
Yes, well, and that's, that's the ideal. The ideal, I think, is to actualize and realize, that idea that um, you can do it at your leisure, but at the same time, like you said, you never really know when that last request is going to come in. So to continue to paint, and you've made a good distinction in that when your work is at the gallery, in a gallery, when you're represented by a gallery, then it has the capability to be sold or acquired.
Yeah.
However, the work that we show in the museum, so at the Torrance Art Museum, none of that work is for sale. And sometimes when people come in, they don't get the distinction. And so, we can always let people know, the front desk people can let, how to get in touch with artists and get onto their website. But
Absolutely.
it's one of the major distinctions, is that I can't just go buy the piece off of the wall as much as I would like to.
Yeah, I fully appreciate that, but more than the monetary gains, is the thing that I appreciate so much about this engagement, like at the Torrance Art Museum, is a sense of vindication. I mean, galleries have their markets that they provide, and the monetary gain is, of course, always appreciated, but to be positioned in a space such as a room such as TAM offers completes me far more than the actual sale.
That's
Yes.
so good to hear. It really is. And you do echo the sentiment of almost everyone that we have that has shown there. I think that even though there are people that live in Torrance that don't even know that they have an art museum, unfortunately. And so we do recognize that to show it either in either gallery or the dark room, it's kind of a big deal. And so I'm wondering, you said that you went to the museum. Did you happen to step into gallery 2 with the Dürer, Goya, Rembrandt? Were there prints in there?
Yeah. Yes, and to take that back, to take in the history of these greats and stuff, and to be actually under the same roof and stuff, I know it's a little romantic and stuff, but
no, I mean, it's kind of a big deal. And Max was kind of giddy when he was telling us about, getting that show, but how many artists can say that they showed at the same time that a Rembrandt was up, it's kind of a big deal. So,
well, I would never actually, I mean, I would, but only in private circles, but I would never. I'd say it was in conjunction,
yeah.
I can honestly say that now.
Yes. Yes.
So no, that was, yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So you were saying that okay, so these 3 this is a lovely photograph with the foreground there. And so these 3 are going to travel to Canada.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We'll actually be taking them up personally. Part of this production company that I have entails a big production motorhome, and my wife and I, Tanya Rector, also a marvelous painter who I share the studio with, by the way. She's represented with Craig Krull Gallery here. He's been around forever and stuff, represents some of the finest artists here. We'll be driving these paintings up to Calgary and stuff as a way to get out of the studio, to get away. It's been quite busy, so we're looking forward to that.
Wonderful. That's ideal. How extraordinary. And so this is a bit of a backed up view of the work that's in the studio. How long does it take for you to complete a work?
Yeah, they always ask that. The work can be immediate at a certain point. I guess the key to it is the underpainting, the body of the work, the structural aspects and stuff come at the end. And generally what happens J9, is editing. My wife always described the work as a proponent of horror foucault, too much, afraid of too much open space. She was a minimalist, is a minimalist. And so what I have taken to heart is to build up as much as I can, contrast, colors, all the things that resonate in me and that need to have purpose in order for these two-dimensional forms to have depth. And at the end, as we do in printmaking, I will edit out with forms and shapes the negative spaces. I do have tin plates that I work from. They're fairly large. They're cut out. It's nothing extensive. And what I will do is then lay in these tin plates over the entire mass of the surface and select what I want to stay. So it's a sort of analog way of editing things. You can do this on your computers now, although it's really hard to, translate that into the physicality of the canvas. And here I can actually do it with a tactile notion. So
And
it's sort of happen. Yes.
No, I was just going to say, how do you know when that last mark, how do you know what the last mark is going to be?
You know when you're bitten into the perfect strawberry, when you're speaking to someone that you relate to, there's just the intuition after engagements and stuff. I mean, this has all resolved through decades of exploratory experiments and trial and error. I think or the decision to not actively find representation with the brick and mortar galleries for a number of decades was to allow the ability for me to find out where these things would land without, thinking about branding or certain identities that need to be formulated. And they have taken on, I feel, since the beginning of COVID, a sort of identity of their own, whereas sometimes I'll come to the studio and I'm surprised that I am the hand that made these things. And I know that sounds terrible, but
no,
they take on a life of their own. A number of years ago, I sat with Bryce Martin at, I think it was the Gladstone. He was showing a solo there by himself, and it was the middle of the afternoon, I believe, on the middle of the week, and he was sitting by himself on a bench looking at one of his marvelous pieces. And I rarely would interrupt anyone of that stature and stuff to ask him anything at that moment, because obviously he was in a solitary state of being there. And I said, Mr. Martin, can I ask you, when are these done for you? And he said, they're never done. They're never done. Yeah, I think he might have been evasive a little bit, because as with the piece in Torrance currently, I may have addressed a few things there again, given the state of mind that you're in. But you really, I guess that's always been the biggest challenge for the visualist or the artist, to say enough, move on, leave it. And also the advantages of being associated with curators that have an eye for that. Say, you're done. My wife has a good eye for that too.
Sure,
she says,
sure.
That's finished.
One of the things that the Torrance Art Museum did, and unfortunately no longer does, but when I lived there, I had the opportunity to be involved in a program where we were able to bring mostly homeschooled children, but young children, sometimes very young children, into the gallery. And I will say that their minds are a bit more open and aren't so looking for that representational, traditional, like I want to be able to at least identify something. And so this is a show that I really wish we were doing that program, because I think that the way that I responded when I first saw the whole show, but each individual artist's work was from a color perspective. So I'm a kind of a color person. And so just resonating with certain image, certain portions of the canvas that have a color that resonates within me. And then looking at it all together. Yeah, this is just, this is the kind of work
it was marvelous. It was marvelous. I posted a photograph of the two kids engaging in piece in the artworks, and they stopped in front of the large piece, my large piece and stuff. I was able to capture them, and this is what painting is all about. This is when these things are complete. Their minds are completely open. They're having fun with it. There's something going that's unrestricted.
They don't
And
need
I'm
to
going,
know
well,
what
that's
it,
success.
yeah, they don't look at it and,
No.
poke their mom and say, what is it? Like my husband's like, I just don't get it. I'm like, you don't need to get it. And I think you should go to a baseball game instead of come to the art museum with me. But, but yes, there is that innocence and that expansiveness in looking at things and appreciating them for exactly what they are, without that criticality that some of us develop over time, particularly with art, that's frustrating, I will say. So,
Well, it's the basis of all inquiry, to be allowed to, question or ask or be able to openly respond to things. I think that's the beauty of art. I mean, academically, math always challenged me when I was younger, or history. I was engaged with history, but the arts always allowed a place to. I remember very, very young, because I challenged because of linguistic. I mean, I spoke German first, then French, and then was immersed into an English-speaking school when I was 7, and I had difficulty comprehending things. But art was always the go-to, and art was always where, oh, look, there is something about John that we can identify with. So it's always been important in that sense, and that's what I see with the kids when they're in the galleries. I mean, it's like the carnivals or the whatever they just go out there and they're enamored by the color and just the joy of the whole thing.
Yes, it kind of was the highlight for me, and all the different aspects of volunteering there that I really enjoyed, because, like I said, there was just a simplistic intelligence. I know it's kind of an oxymoron, but they didn't need to know a lot of information, but they were starving for the information, if that sounds right. They wanted to be immersed in it, and so.
It's just so happy to see the kids in there. I mean, physically, off the blue screen.
And this show is actually a perfect show for kids, because there's, I don't need to put any warning signs up or anything that's objectionable, right? So, which unfortunately in the past we have had to do with some of the work that's been up in the galleries. But a show like this, I also feel, is very inspirational, because I feel like when there's a degree of creativity and skill that's kind of baked into each piece,
right,
that allows the viewer to say, there's more creativity in me than I'm giving myself credit for.
And also, if I might add, it introduced diversity, which is so prevalent in our societies and so necessary to embrace. The authors of these pieces were also from diverse backgrounds and stuff. We're seeing more and more of that being represented.
Right.
And
right.
There's no simple format that you need to adhere to be part of that collective. And that was the beauty of the curation too. The approach to a lot of the pieces were different, so different, washes or tactile and stuff. And yet they were harmonious throughout. When you walk through, none really sort of challenged the other and stuff. They all sort of, sat together beautifully. So
Yes. Well,
that,
good. I'm so happy to hear that. And interesting in this image on the left, those pieces in the back are in the background are very different than the piece that you have in the show. Was it a different series?
I'm not sure if I'm seeing the correct image. Oh, on the left.
Oh, that's okay. I might have lost your audio.
I may,
There you are. You're back. Okay.
I'm not sure which image. I've got two people I'm standing behind. Is that
Yes.
correct?
So the
That you're looking at?
the woman in the white shirt, black pants. Those images
The
behind.
white shirt one, those are my wife's paintings and stuff. And
Ah,
those, to be fair,
okay. Okay.
yes,
Interesting.
we we, we collaborate. Yes, yes,
Nice. Have
and
you
we
ever
collaborate
collaborated on
the.
a one piece together?
Oh, don't get me started. One of the non-disclosure stuff who take several pieces out of the studio and stuff, had approached me at one point to revisit, reimagine, not reimagine, but just replicate one of these large abstracts that I have, quite similar to the one that's in the TAM. And the first, and because it had been offered to be purchased, and they wouldn't let it go and stuff. So they've asked me if if I could make them again, and I said, well, no, they're unique images. You'll never get them to anywhere close. And I tried to reinterpret it, and they weren't successful for them or for their market. But when I brought my wife, I took on the process that I had learned during the printmaking era to separate the various layers, which is how these paintings are created, and approach it again that way. And my wife is a color separationist. That's her background commercially, and also a fine artist. And through her, we were able to dictate the roles that were required to resolve these things. So, i.e., what I'm saying is that she would initiate the underpaintings, identify all the color schemes in there, and put them on the canvas. And I would go in and edit, and then we would again, and we at the final process in this engagement would be my final template that would go on, and I would pick out the areas that I could work from. And in that way, we were able to resolve that proposal and deliver. And as of late, I think we're on our 8th or 9th piece and stuff. And together, I mean, you'll find we have Whitney Bedford, who is an artist, a very well-known artist, and Rachel Livowitz in the same structure that I'm in right now, speaking from.
Okay.
And they employ interns as well, because individually, the physicality of trying to create these things in that mass and stuff is formidable. And that's what concerned me, to be able to engage in the commission, which is quite lucrative, but also still be able to develop my own work. And with this collaboration I had with my wife, Tanya Rector, I'm able to deliver these things in a timely manner, and with that standard of uniqueness in them, that has actually helped me carry on developing in the new developments as well, as far as the work is concerned. So
Wonderful.
that's a long answer to a short question.
No, I mean, I think it's
But
fascinating.
2 artists.
Well, I also think it's fascinating that you have found sort of a life partner with whom you share such a significant passion, but also where you complement each other well enough to actually work on the same thing, right? It's kind of like two cooks in the kitchen. Sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't.
Well, I need, yes, absolutely. But to be clear, though, I mean, she work her work is completely different from any of this work. She is starting to do some of the open brush free strokes. Her work had a more tactile flavor. She's been reviewed several times in the LA Times for her tactile work, stitching fabrics together and painting on them. And so this is a new engagement. So we're both enjoying the collaboration that this one particular client has challenged us with. And you don't know how long it goes on with, but right now we're just tickled pink and stuff that it is working,
Yes,
and
yeah,
yeah.
wonderful,
So
fantastic.
she'll do her own thing, and I'll do the thing. Yes, we'll come together on it. It's remarkable. I'm very fortunate.
Well, I thank you so very, very much for joining us today and giving us a little bit of background about your work. And we're so pleased to have you in this show. Like I said, it runs through May 4th at the TAM and in the main gallery. So when you first walk in, it's the larger of the two galleries. I will include a link to your website. In preparing for today, I did as well. So you may see a little
Thank
bit increased traffic there. And we'll post this as soon as we can.